through a media moment defined by disruption. Shrinking newsrooms, eroding trust, AI reshaping everything, and yet among the noise, some voices aren't panicking, they're provoking, urging us not to preserve what was, but to invent what comes next. Hi, I'm Mike Blinder, publisher of E&P Magazine. This is E&P Reports, a weekly podcast series that explores the people, organizations, and issues shaping the evolving news publishing industry with candid conversations, bold ideas, and insights that matter to media leaders. Today's guest is one of those voices, someone who has never been afraid to challenge the way things are done, and frankly, he'll piss people off while he's doing it. Jeff Jarvis, welcome to the show.
That's my job. I piss people off.
Oh, man, but we get such interactions when you're on the show. I mean, I always say the opposite of love isn't hate, it's indifference. And when you come on, I get so much buzz. So thank you for helping me get more clicks.
It's like when I used to be on radio on KGO in San Francisco years ago, and the phone lines were going dead. I would just say, you can't get a decent piece of pizza in this town. Boom. It would light up. So I guess I'm the pizza of newspapering.
So how do I describe Jarvis to our audience if you've lived under a rock? You're one of journalism's most fearless futurists. As the author
I'm not a futurist.
You're not?
No. The prediction is a fool's game. If anything, I'm a pastist. I think we've got a lot to learn from the history of media and the mistakes made in the past and the opportunities that we now have.
All right, so how do I label you today? You're a media critic, and you sound off on Buzz Machine.
Buzz Machine, and I'm a professor emeritus at CUNY, and I'm a visiting professor at Stony Brook, a fellow at Montclair State, and I'm an author.
Now, you say on LinkedIn, 6, soon to be 7 books. What's the real count now?
So there will be 7. So I have a book coming out in June called Hot Type, the magnificent machine that gave birth to mass media and drove Mark Twain mad. It is a cultural history of the linotype. And you are old enough to remember what that was, I think. Right?
I even worked a linotype machine in shop class in junior high school.
Oh, wow. Yeah, you are.
I remember the smell.
So it's filled with amazing. I was going to write a biography of Otmar Mergenthaler, the inventor. Turns out he died at 45, so that kind of kiboshed that. But the stories are wonderful. Mark Twain went bankrupt backing a machine that competed with it. The stories of labor and how that worked out through the 60s and the death of 6 newspapers in New York and, of course, Wapping. The story of the gendering of the linotype as male while the typewriter was female in society. All the way up through the creation of PostScript, which was the technology that kind of ended everything that came before.
Well, what we're going to do is we're going to interview you when that book comes out. So we'll hold that and keep it off on the sidelines, because I'm more interested in hearing, as we've turned the corner into a new year, is journalism doomed or just overdue for an upgrade? We'll ask those questions of Mr. Jarvis right after this.
Hello, my name is Walter Hussman. Our family has been in the news business for over 100 years. Journalism includes 2 parts, reporting the news and providing opinions. But in recent years, there's been too much opinion appearing in news reporting. This has eroded public trust in news reporting to the lowest level of any U.S. institution. To address this, we started a nonprofit, the Center for Integrity in News Reporting.
The Center for Integrity in News Reporting, CFINR, is on a mission to rebuild public trust in journalism, one newsroom and one classroom at a time. We champion the effort to have news organizations and journalism schools create and prominently display their own clear, concise statements of core journalistic values. Learn more by visiting the Center for Integrity and News Reporting site at cfinr.org.
Okay, Jeff, I'm going to quote you to you. You've said, and tell me if I have this wrong, the only sane response to change is to find the opportunity in it. Given where we are now, shrinking audiences, economic pressures, technology, disruption, what opportunity should a local newspaper or local news publisher be chasing in 2026?
I'm working with a few of them in my neck of the woods, and I think the first opportunity is to get rid of print. It's a cost. It's an albatross around the neck. I think that we've got to move past that. I think the next opportunity is to collaborate with the ecosystem around you. That includes your own readers, includes other people. I think there are opportunities for AI. I've been experimenting with one paper, taking recordings of all the town meetings and putting them up on Notebook LM and getting transcripts and so on. There's an opportunity to share news across. I don't think we're competitive anymore. I think there's a lot of opportunities to change. There are models out there. Our friend Richard Gingras, formerly at Google, has just become the board chair at Village Media in Canada. And I've talked to Jeff Elgie, the founder there, and Richard with some folks down here. And they really have a model that works. It's online only. It's advertising supported fully. It's very much community oriented, more than even news oriented. It's a model that I think can work in small papers across the country. So that's one model, and there are others as well.
You've called out content over content as a dead strategy. And I have warned that mass media as we know it or as we think it is sinking. What does that mean for legacy local news in general? What are you trying to say when you shout those words?
I think that when we thought all of our value was resident in this thing we call content, we put ourselves in a position of being commodified. And now comes AI, which is the literate machine, which can spew out content no end. And it doesn't make us so special anymore. And I was at a group of journalists just the other night, and one of them was saying, we got to get past the story. Maybe we have a lot of databases. Maybe we're gathering more information. We've got to decide what our relationship is with AI. And I think right now our industry is being foolish because we're out there saying, no, AI is bad, cut them off at the gates. Meanwhile, marketers are dying to be a part of AI. Propagandists are dying to be part of AI, and we've got to figure out what's going on. And in fact, I think there's an opportunity for the little guys, the local papers, to band together and to make themselves available to AI with a discussion about that. The big payoffs that are happening are going to the likes of Rupert Murdoch, who doesn't need any more money. And the New York Times is doing its suits. Meanwhile, all those deals, which are really just lobbying shut-up deals and litigation and legislation, are cutting off the vast ecosystem of news. They're cutting off local publishers, new and old. And so what if we gang together and said, okay, here's an API for news. Here's an easy way to get it. Let's talk about how it's presented and what the links are and so on. And maybe talk some money too. Let's be honest, though, there's not going to be any riches coming from AI. But if we cut ourselves off from it, it won't know to send people to us, and that's foolish.
All right, let's stay local and let's talk sustainability, especially when it comes to top line revenue. And the reason I'm asking this question is recently, I'm not going to mention the association, a large state association asked me to advise on what their programming should be, and they were talking about we should do a panel on becoming nonprofit. And every time we've had a nonprofit entity that's succeeding on this very program, they have a for-profit sold. You know what
Absolutely.
I mean? It just was a way of doing the books.
Absolutely.
So what model do you see working for top line and local journalism? Cooperative, membership, micro newsletter? Is there something that's ringing in your brain now that you see just working better in 2026?
It's not one revenue stream, and that means it's multiple skills. But I do think that local advertising still works. See Village Media and see a lot of others. One. Two, I think subscription is a dead model, but membership has a lot of potential. But you've got to mean it. It's not just another word for membership, for subscription rather. It's not just another way to give access to content. It's a way to have a true relationship with your community and mutually support something together. Three, ancillary revenue like events are good. It's a whole other skill set, and that makes it hard, but I do think there's opportunities there. Four, ancillary products, even though I think we need to get out of print, there's certainly an opportunity to do total market coverage products and to do annual guides and slick monthly magazines with advertisers and such. I think print still has possibilities there. And four is that 4 or 5? I forget. I think
I wasn't counting. Go ahead.
we have to look just past revenue to cost. And I think probably in the local world, everybody has cut to the complete nub already anyway. But that means that there's more opportunity to be found in collaboration. I work with Montclair State Center for Cooperative Media. They've brought together more than 300 local people doing news. They're going to start a news sharing network so they can share both stories and reporting. That's the kind of thing we need to be doing now to be more efficient and to deliver more to the readers we still have.
So let me go to the bottom line now. You are now trying to do local media in some way, shape, form, or size. You're either a legacy, rethinking it, or you're a new entity that wants to break through. What infrastructure investments? Are you hiring full-time employees now? What in technology do you bring in-house? What do you outsource? Is there, how would you do the infrastructure in today's wacky world?
I think I'd have no offices. I think I probably would try to have a few full-time people. I've talked to one mentor of mine who's now talking about kind of training roll your own citizens as journalists. Take people who are interested and give them the skills. Jim Wilsey, who was my mentor, is on Long Island. He's talking about doing that now. You have Documenters, which is doing it similarly on a city bureau. I think there's ways to work with people without just staff. I'd reconsider the content you have. Every local place is wondering whether high school sports is worth it or not. And I think that's a decent debate to have. What content should you have? And I think that on technology, I'd make it as simple as possible. Either go with something like WordPress and Broad Street ads, or if look at something like Village Media, which is an all-in platform. But absolutely don't spend any effort on making technology. There's no need to. Right. Keep it as simple and as cheap as possible. Keep it down to covering the nut. When I taught entrepreneurial journalism, I'd go around the classroom and I'd finally give somebody $1 and I'd say, okay, what are you going to do with that first dollar? And they'd always keep the dollar, by the way. And don't think about all your grand expenses. Think that you're barely keeping your nose above water. And what do you do next?
Okay, I'm going to go back to content. You wrote, and I'm quoting you to you, that journalism's value isn't just in content, but in service, education, and community collaboration. We've been doing a lot of reporting now on how some news outlets are doing more outreach in the communities. I don't know if you're a fan of Ken Doctor and what he's been doing. Okay, you are. Oh, good. I mean, again, another man who can get on this show and piss some people off too. But when you outreach to the community, when you're part of the community, is in a fragmented media environment and polarized public discourse, how can local news rebuild trust and a sense of belonging that we are that voice of who we serve?
My proudest accomplishment in my too long career is not starting a magazine, is not starting websites. It was starting a program called Engagement Journalism at CUNY, which they're kind of messing up. So my colleague Carrie Brown is building it at Montclair State, and others across the country are building engagement journalism. And what this means is the first thing we taught students to do was to listen. And it was really interesting, Mike, to watch students who had some journalistic experience come in. We'd say, go to a community and understand that community's definition of itself and its needs and reflect that back. And the journalists would go there with a notebook held out and a pen and get ready to take quotes because that's our reflex. And they would finally learn to put the notebook down, put the camera away. Just listen first. And it sounds glib and simplistic, but we tend not to be great at listening, especially in these days when we expect a young writer to turn out 8 pieces a day. When's the time to listen? It is an investment, but it means it's the way to show up in a community to try to understand people in their own lives. And I think the opportunity we have in local media to be the antidote to how national media is screwing up is that their national media are taking the agenda that's been set in the memes and the tropes that are put out there for purposes. I don't think that, I quote Hannah Arendt a lot, that in this time of totalitarianism, people grab onto abstract notions. And I don't believe that most Americans who are on the right really care first and foremost every day when they wake up about abortion and guns and trans kids in bathrooms. They care about their families. They care about their jobs. They care about their kids. They care about education. They care about the prices. If you can get to people into conversation about their actual lives, not these tropes, then I think local journalism can lead better than where national journalism is today.
All right. I'm going to continue on this now because we have this debate in our editorial environment here at E&P. Enterprise journalism, that hard-hitting side of what we do, telling people, I hate to use this quote, telling them what they need to know, not what they want to know. I'm in favor of it, even though we might get 2,000 words that only gets read into the first 2 paragraphs, because in my opinion, tell me I'm off base, that still strengthens my brand when we do enterprise pieces, even though they may not be the ones that are resonating as much within the click world and the sharing world. What advice do you give to someone with limited resources? Do they still invest energy and dollars into those longer enterprise stories?
Yes, because I agree with you. This is when I buy Mike a drink at the bar for saying the right things. Because it does help your brand. It does help your visibility. People can talk about it. I think that's part of the value. It also is part of our mission. But I don't think it's everything. I don't think you can afford to imagine that you're doing that all the time, that everybody is ProPublica and that's all they do. We can't afford that. In a small town, there aren't that many stories, but there are stories to be done, and there are stories to be done with data and with collaboration and other ways that say that we are watching and we're making a better town together. I also think the other thing to do, Terry Parrish Jr., who taught with us in engagement journalism at CUNY, he's now at the JSK program at Stanford. He just got a degree in library science alongside journalism because he believes in going to community institutions like libraries, calling in citizens and having them sit down and debate where best to put journalistic resource. And he did this with our students in Brooklyn, and it worked wonderfully. And we'd go in thinking this is the story, but people would say, well, no, actually, this is what I care about. This is what we need. This is what I need you to look into. This is what is not making sense. This is what smells wrong. And to do that collaboratively with the community, rather than thinking that we are the holder of all the community's secrets, I think is the right starting point.
Are you optimistic when you get up in the morning? Do you believe there will be a local, free, and unfettered press that continues to be part of this 100 and 250-year-old experiment, Madisonian republic that we thrive in?
I absolutely think there will be a demand for it. I know there will be a need for it. Right now in this country, I greatly fear where we stand, and I fear for any speech and the press as a whole. I just got back from Europe where I said that mass media are dead, and we are not right now in a democracy. So I think that we've got bigger fish to worry about.
Jeff Jarvis, author of, I always refer to this book because it was my favorite. It's when I first met you. What Would Google Do? Do you remember those days?
I do indeed.
That was an amazing read. But now 6, soon to be 7, we'll have you back on the show.
The media books are the Gutenberg parenthesis, magazine, and soon hot type.
I'm looking forward to it. It's a pleasure to have you back on the program.
Always.
This, I don't remember, 9th, 10th visit. What the hell? We'll keep having you back. Thanks for your time, sir.
Thank you, sir.